can finally talk about the Suicide Squad alpha. WB and Rocksteady announced today that they're no longer enforcing a portion of the NDA that participants had to agree to when playing in the closed alpha, so those who participated a couple months ago can finally talk about their experiences. We can't post any video footage or screenshots, and I wasn't planning on doing that anyways since I didn't record or take any pictures of what I was playing, so all of the gameplay footage that you're gonna see is just from trailers and other gameplay showcases and stuff like that. And it should be obvious, but if you don't want to be spoiled on any gameplay or any of the minor story elements that happen in the first few hours of the game, please don't watch this. Also, I know that there's a lot of discourse around this game, and I don't necessarily lean on one side over the other, but these are just my own personal, objective experiences from the game, and a lot about what I have to say comes directly from my own personal preferences. So to start, I want to say that overall, my playtime with this alpha was okay. I grouped up with two friends of mine and we each picked a character. After we tried each of them out and discussed who we wanted to be, I was Deadshot, Avi was Harley Quinn, my mod Reaping was Captain Boomerang, and the AI companion that we had was also Harley Quinn. It was totally a bug because we could only have one of each character, but it was funny when every time a cutscene would happen, Killer Shark would appear, and then once it ended, Harley Quinn would come back. So the thing about all the characters is this: when it comes to overall functionality, each character basically plays the same, and the only thing that really sets them apart are their traversal mechanics. But fundamentally, each character plays exactly the same from my experience, but have different super moves and melee animations. There's a skill tree for each of these characters, so in terms of making your character feel unique, that's how you would do that. But it reminds me a lot about how Marvel Avengers, or maybe using a better example, something like Borderlands, would use for their skill tree diversifications. And one of the things that I'm honestly not really too sure how I feel about, if I'm being honest, is that it has very similar mission styles in terms of what Marvel's Avengers did. Again, just as an example, where you have to do all these different objectives, and then at the very end, you get a sort of like loot crate kind of box that you get to open that will give you various weapons, stats, that sort of thing. And obviously, with the way that the whole game is designed, you can switch out all of the different weapons between the different members. It's not like Deadshot is just exclusive to sniper rifles and pistols, for example. He can have a shotgun, he can have a submachine gun. All of the characters can use all the different types of guns, but again, it kind of adds to every character feeling kind of the same. I think me and my party agreed that Captain Boomerang was the best in terms of traversal, because throwing his boomerang a certain distance would have him run to where the boomerang landed, and you could throw it multiple times, and you could have a melee follow-up, which was really cool. Deadshot was kind of with this whole jetpack mechanic. Killer Shark basically played how the Incredible Hulk did in the Incredible Hulk video game, which was kind of fun. And Harley Quinn was the worst when it came to traversal. And with Harley specifically, her grappling and swinging mechanics just weren't very engaging, but this could also be because I just came off of playing Spider-Man 2. But I think my whole party agreed that she just was the worst out of all of them. The slide feels great, and I think that the traversal was the thing that I personally took away from the alpha, minus the story elements that we'll get into later. And unfortunately, I found the gameplay to be, how do I put this? It's not that I almost fell asleep while playing the game, but I did feel myself zoning out quite a bit. It's not that it's bad, it's just very mindless, formulaic, and maybe unengaging. Now, this is purely coming from my own personal taste, so take this with a grain of salt. And I don't want to keep comparing this to Marvel's Avengers because it's not that. But I guess when comparing it to, let's say, the Arkham games. The Arkham games can also feel very formulaic if you just spam the attack buttons and counter occasionally, but they also have different special moves that you can utilize depending on the character, but each character will function the same way if you basically play like that. Now, to counterpoint, Suicide Squad is similar in that concept, but the only difference is that it's a third-person shooter. And to counterpoint the counterpoint, the biggest difference with the two actually isn't the style of combat, but the pacing. When you do well in the Arkham games, you are in the zone. The music builds, the encounter gets faster, the enemies start doing different things, and that's what makes each encounter engaging, regardless of the character that you're playing. But in Suicide Squad, every encounter kept the same pace. The music, the enemies, and even the map loadout all felt like it went in a straight line with no ups and downs to make it interesting. Is that necessarily a bad thing? No, it's not. But that's just how I felt when I was playing. The story from what I experienced is just okay. I'm not particularly fond of any of the members of the squad, and like I mentioned in my Arkham DLC video a couple weeks ago, I'm just not a fan of how this Harley Quinn is portrayed in these games, and I honestly find her to be kind of annoying. But interacting with each of the Leaguers both normally and under the mind control is really fun, and obviously they're going for a more campy and colorful feel this time around. I'm just not particularly interested, but again, That's just my own preference. Although as a die-hard Arkham fan, I can say without a doubt that the thing that I was looking forward to the most was experiencing the lore of the Arkham universe after the events of Arkham Knight. And we get a ton of exposition from the Hall of Justice with their holograms of each of the League members, to listening to their audio logs, and that section in the Batman Museum is such a treat. We actually get to know how and why Batman is in this game, and I'd rather not spoil that here, but then we get to experience what it's like to be on the other end of a Predator section, and oh my god, this is the thing that I took the most from the beta, and it was without a doubt the highlight of what will probably be the entire game for me, if I'm being honest. And I don't know what was better. An experienced Arkham player knowing all of Batman's tricks and still getting caught, or seeing my friend who had absolutely no knowledge of the Arkham games walk right over a floor crate and get choke slammed. And of course, Kevin Conroy is fantastic in here. In just the few hours we played, I could tell he has a very significant role here, and it's so interesting to see him take the role of the villain this time around. And finally, the classic Arkham elements make a return, like hearing the Brainiac minions over the comms, Batman constantly checking in and talking shit to all of the Suicide Squad members and the Justice League. And to my surprise, the Riddler is back with more riddles and more Riddler trophies, and of course he's back because it would not be a Rocksteady DC game without the Riddler. And I know that I'm missing a ton of other Arkham references that were shown in the trailers, as well as just stuff that I saw other people talk online, but I personally didn't experience, so I don't really want to bring that up here. But I'm really looking forward to actually seeing all of the different Easter eggs that we have. And this is why I'm so conflicted about this game, because it takes place in a universe that continues a story that I love, but has gameplay that just isn't my thing. And to try to best illustrate this, imagine that we had Matt Reeves' Batman that came out a few years ago. I like the Batman. It's one of my new favorite interpretations of the Batman character. It's grounded, it's dark, it's very mature, and a great detective story that gives off a sort of film noir vibe. Now imagine the sequel comes out a couple years later, but it's a romantic comedy. I have nothing against romantic comedies, but I don't go out of my way to see them unless they're really special. And unfortunately for me, Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League is a not so special romantic comedy. I'm personally not going to get the game at launch because one of the things that we all unanimously agreed on at the end of the game is that it was fun, but none of us thought it was worth the $70, and especially not worth over $100 for the deluxe edition. And not to mention, if they're gonna be going through with their whole battle pass thing anyways, it's just not what I want. And I really don't think that I would want to spend more money on this game after paying the initial $70 up front, unless they had new characters, new story expansions, and not just battle pass shenanigans. Now, just as a reminder for everybody, this isn't a review of the full game, but instead of first impressions of a closed alpha. So don't let my thoughts deter you away if this is something that you're interested in. You can spend your money however you want, and I won't judge you. However, I will judge you if you get this game over Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, because that game is going to take you 3 to 4 days straight to play just the main campaign, not even counting the side quests, and that game is absolutely worth the $70. But I don't care if you don't like turn-based RPGs, okay? Don't buy Suicide Squad, don't buy Tekken 8, buy Like a Dragon 8. Guys, thank you again so much for watching, and please let me know what your thoughts are on the Suicide Squad game down in the comments below, especially if you played the closed alpha. Consider leaving a like if you enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more videos from me, be sure you hit that subscribe button. You can also check out some of my other videos where I rank all of the suits in the Batman Arkham games, as well as ranking all of the Arkham games in general, or maybe you just want to see the DLC campaign rankings that I did a while ago. Thank you all again so much for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you next time.